This is Petty Officer Spencer Cross with the 4th episode of Navy Cross. Today we're going to be talking about military members using the Dave Ramsey method, some tips to make it more efficient and maximize your results. So if you're not familiar with the Dave Ramsey method, it's a 7-step method to attain financial literacy and success. I find I recommend it a lot of the time to junior sailors because it's progressive. You can sort of step through the stages, you know where you're at. It's very intentional. You're not just spending a little bit here, saving here, paying off debt, investing here. It's concentrated, so you follow each step successively. And here's a quick breakdown of the steps. Step 1 is called the Initial Emergency Fund. It's $1,000 in a savings account, something you can access easily so that if you go into debt, if you have some sort of short-term cost, whether it be you need to go fly on short notice to see family for some reason, auto repair, whatever it is, you don't need to go further into debt. You can just use this emergency fund to pay for that. That's step 1. Step 2 is to pay off all your debt except for your mortgage. So forget about the mortgage for a moment and you pay off all other debt, credit card loans, student loans, that kind of stuff. Step 3 is called a fully funded emergency fund. It's 3 to 6 months of your expenses. That way, in case you lose your job, something more significant, major home repair, that kind of thing, need a new car, you'll be able to survive on 6 months of your current expenses. Step 4 is to put 15% of your income, your total take-home income, into retirement. Step 5 is to have a plan for how you're going to pay for your child's education, so advanced education, college, that kind of thing. Step 6 is to pay off your home. And step 7 is to invest massively beyond your retirement and to give generously. Okay, so step 1 is pretty straightforward. You just save $1,000, have it readily accessible in a savings account, something you can get within one day. At this point, create a budget and make sure your spouse is on board. You don't want you to be saving and your spouse to be spending at will because they're seeing more money in your account. But look at how much you spent in previous months as a baseline for your budget, and then just be honest with how much you're spending on what, right? Not a judgment call to say you shouldn't be buying stuff for your hobbies, you shouldn't be eating out, and shouldn't be using DoorDash. But if it's a huge part of your budget or if it's an area where you can save, then just look at that and make a decision and be intentional about what you want to accomplish. If you're looking at your budget and you think it's going to take you 10 months to save $1,000, then maybe try to be a little more aggressive. $1,000 should be something you should be able to save up in a few months, if not much less. That's all you got to do for step 1, and then you'll graduate to step 2. You're an E2 now. Congratulations. All right, so baby step 2 is pay off all your debt except for your mortgage. Depending on how much debt you had before entering the service or even gained while in the service, this step can take quite a while, but there are some options available for you. The basics of this debt snowball is you line up all your debts, lowest to largest. So let's say you have a $100 personal loan, $5,000 on a credit card, and then $10,000 on the student loan. You pay the minimums on everything, but on the smallest dollar amount, you put anything extra to that amount, pay it off as quickly as you can, then take all the payments the next month and put it on the next smallest dollar amount, so the debt snowballs into a larger and larger set. So you can be super intentional about it, pay off one, then pay off the next, then pay off the next, right? Some military considerations are you can consider using the SCRA, the Service Member Civil Relief Act. If you have pre-military service debt, they can cap your interest rates at 6%, and it can be applied retroactively to your debtors, that they have to forgive that debt. I haven't used it personally. I know some people who have. I think it's a pretty good option, something to research. Baby step 3 is the fully funded emergency fund. That's 3 to 6 months of expenses. Since you've been doing your budget, you should have a rough view of what you need in a given month to survive. House, utilities, food, all that fun stuff. So 3 to 6 months, and just save it up as quickly as you can. Baby step 4 is to put 15% of your total take-home income into retirement. For military, TSP I find to be the best option. If you're doing something else, good for you. We're talking about TSP here today though. So when they say total take-home pay, they don't just mean your base pay. So if you're putting in 15%, and this you can change this on MyPay you can change that, just the base number amount of percentage. If you're putting 15% of your base pay, that's not going to be 15% of your total income. Depending on BAH, BAS should be the same for everybody, but depending on BAH and your total income, that number might need to be up in 22, 23, 24 area. So just do the calculations yourself and come up with 15% somehow in that calculation. For TSP, you're going to want to get your login. If you don't have it, you'll need to contact the website and have them send it to your home record, all that fun stuff. It can take a little bit of time, but you're going to want to switch out of the G Fund. Minimally, the G Fund is not going to help you very much. You could be putting a lot of money in every month, but your growth rate is going to be very poor. At any time, you don't need to be logged in. You can just Google TSP share price history or DSP performance history. You can look up how any particular fund has performed over the last month or years or since its inception. G tends to be the worst. I recommend some combination of C and S. I used to recommend I, but the C fund is actually internationally diversified, about 30%. So C and S are good places to start, and those correspond with 2 of Dave Ramsey's 4 preferred mutual funds. And there's a lot of good benefits to doing that. If you want to use some of that money for shorter term trading, let's say Wall Street, you want to do currency or stocks, Mr. Ramsey recommends about 10% of your total 15% could be used in shorter term options, but in general you want to stick with mutual funds. That's why I recommend TSP as you're buying set amounts of those mutual funds, whatever your combination is, and just letting it sit, letting it grow. Step 5 is saving for your child's education, advanced education like college. However many kids you have some sort of plan. The stock option is to say that just save up money and have some sort of fund, but for military, you can consider serving enough to be able to obtain the transfer of the 9/11 GI Bill, post 9/11 GI Bill. And the 2 requirements for that are that you serve 10 years and have 4 years left on your contract. It can be a mix of active and reserve, so maybe you serve 6 active and you're getting out, but if you sign up to serve 4 years reserves, you can switch your post 9/11 GI Bill to your dependents at that point. Generally recommend, from what I've heard, that you save 1 month for yourself. That way, if something happens, let's say your kids get scholarships or they decide college isn't for them, or God forbid something terrible happened to them and they not be able to go in a physical capacity, then you could use it for yourself, or if you want to split it up between your spouse and yourself too, whatever combination, but to save 1 month at least for yourself, that way you can change it at any time. So the combination of active and reserve, a lot of people don't know about that, but 4 years reserve to be able to pay for your kids' college could be a good deal for you, something to consider, something you might not be aware of. Okay, so at this point you have a fully funded emergency fund, you have no debt, so no debt payments, you have your retirement and your kids' education taken care of. Baby step 6 is to pay off your mortgage, your last remaining debt. So nothing super complicated about this, just pay it down with the same intention you've attained all the other steps. You can do double payments. That's a pretty popular option to see with your mortgage company. If you can pay twice a month, that reduces your total amount of payments because you're paying less interest per payment. So that's something to consider, but try and do this as quickly as possible. A lot of people raise the idea of buying multiple homes. So some people do it where every new duty station they go to, they buy a home, and then when they depart, they just hand it over to a property manager, use those rental payments to pay off the mortgage. That's up to you. I'm not recommending one way or the other. Just keep in mind that you're assuming additional risk each time you do that, and you're going to need to pay for any major repairs that happen. Sometimes things go sideways all at once, so keep that in mind. Baby step 7 is the fun one, the end of the journey. You have no debts, no mortgage payments, your retirement's set, your kids' college is set, you have a fully funded emergency fund. Like I said, your retirement's taken care of, but you can invest anything more you want to into additional mutual funds. Roth IRAs are a good option. Mr. Ramsey recommends Roth because you tend to be in a lower tax bracket when you're younger, so you're paying taxes on it then, and then when you're older, it's no problem. You're getting what you expect. But going to mutual funds, go on vacations, what have you. It's all good from here on out. Okay, so that's it for the 4th episode of Navy Cross. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions or comments, leave them below or email me. I could do a follow-up video. If you have videos you'd like to see me do, please let me know. I'm open to it. I want to help Navy especially improve their lives, get in better situations in the military and in their private life. So thank you for watching. This is Petty Officer Cross with the Navy Cross.